Okay, so good day, students. How are you today? Okay, it is a new lesson for today. So our lesson for today is about another literacy in the 21st century: visual literacy, verbal creativity, and aesthetics. So before we dive into our topic, let's have a motivational activity. And our motivational activity is memory test. This test will test your visual observational skills. Are you ready? Okay.
Welcome to an all-new memory test game brought to you by the 280 Times Trivia channel. I'm Joel Curtis, and without delay, here we go. Puzzle 1. Please study the image. Questions will follow. How many cameras are visible? There are 4 cameras that can be seen. How many unboxed rolls of film were visible? There were 2 rolls of unboxed film. Next image. Keep a sharp eye, questions will follow. How many umbrellas are in the picture? There were 45 umbrellas in the picture. How many of the umbrellas are folded up? Three umbrellas are folded up. And now it's time for the first of 2 slideshow memory tests. Several images will appear. Remember as much as you can about each. The picture of the people riding bikes, or the picture with the cupcakes. Which was the first picture? The picture of the people riding bikes. How many cupcakes were visible in the cupcake picture? Six cupcakes were visible. In the picture with the lady having a drink, which of her eyes were closed? Her left. In the picture with the guitar-playing monkey, was the monkey smoking a pipe or a cigarette? The monkey was smoking a cigarette. In the picture of the orange beverage, how many straws were in the mason jar? There were 2 straws in the mason.
Okay, now that you have done your memory test, how did you perform? Did you do well? Very good. So, let's delve in with our topic for today. But before that, let's take a look of our learning objectives. So, at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to 1. Define visual literacy, verbal creativity, and aesthetics to modern world. Share personal experiences, which involves skills in visual literacy and verbal creativity. Also, create a logo of your own that will reflect visual literacy, verbal creativity, and aesthetics. Okay, so now, in the advent world of technology, it is very necessary for students to have skills about visual literacy. So therefore, what is visual literacy? So visual literacy is the ability to read, write, and create visual images. It is a concept that relates to the art and design and has much wider applications. So, visual literacy refers to interpreting and creating visual images, and it is about communication and interaction. So, visual literacy is the literacy to interpret, to create, to understand visual images. So it goes beyond the traditional literacy to conclude the skills of or the ability to read and create visual images, which allows individuals to interpret and comprehend messages through visual means. So, the term visual literacy was first coined in 1969 by John Davis, the founder of International Visual Literacy Association. So, he explains visual literacy refers to a group of competencies a human being can develop by seeing, having, and integrating other sensory experiences. So, he described it as a set of competencies that will develop through seeing and integrating other sensory experiences. So, what is the example of visual literacy? So, for example, a teacher is presenting an infographic to simplify the complex content to allow students to learn more effectively and easier. So, according to Oxford Research Encyclopedia, visual literacy is the ability to interpret, negotiate, and make meaning from information presented in the form of image, extending the meaning of literacy, which commonly signifies interpretation of a written or printed text. So, it is based on the idea that images is or can be read, and it is understood through a process of reading, like reading a written text. According to Serafini, visual literacy is a set of visual competencies or cognitive skills and strategies one needs to make sense of visual images. So these visual competencies were seen as universal cognitive abilities that were used to understanding visual images regardless of the context of production reception, and dissemination. So it involves universal cognitive abilities that help individuals make sense of the visual content everywhere, regardless of the context or in various situations. For example, when you see, for instance, a human or people would identify the significant pattern or design or color of a creation of our indigenous of the indigenous hero. For example, creations of the Muslim tribe or the other tribes in the Philippines, and that we universally can identify what is the message behind that pattern, behind that visual image or visual content. So, theories of visual literacy can be integrated across disciplines. Visual literacy now incorporates social-cultural, semiotic, critical, and multimodal perspectives to understand the meaning, the potential of the visual and verbal ensembles encountered in social environment. So, more contemporary definition stress that visual literacy is contextualized social practice as much as an individualized cognitive base of competencies. So it is also a process of generating meanings in transaction with multimodal ensembles that include written text, visual images, and design elements from a variety of perspectives to meet the requirement of the particular context or social context. So digital technology has greatly impacted our understanding of visual literacy. It is as we now see our children or the younger learners of today, that they have using technology as they are growing up with tablets, with cell phones, that it appears to be a highly developed visual literacy instance. So what is another example of you having a visual literacy? So with visual media, using visual media, so what are visual media? So visual medias, for example, photos, videos, movies, comics, infographics, signs, a symbol, scoreboards, the designs, logos, or others are considered visual media, and it is a linguistic tool. It is a linguistic tool that will enable us to interpret and create a message that will help in communicating and exchanging ideas, which help us navigate in the modern world. So now let's go on verbal creativity. So in the view of the rapidly increasing complexity of the world, creativity is more important than ever before, and it is even considered as an important and useful skill, so that allowing individuals to adapt flexibly to the ever-changing, ever-dynamic demands of our modern world. useful and effective response to evolutionary changes since it conditions around us. So creativity is a useful and effective response to evolutionary changes since it allows individuals to flexibly respond. It is important for the development of a fully functioning, mentally healthy, well-educated, and vocationally successful individual. It is by Torrance and Inhassen. So it is for Torrance in 1969. It allows, or creativity allows individual to flexibly respond to the continuously changing world of today, and he recognized creativity as an important skill or important part for the development of a fully functioning, mentally healthy, well-educated and well-functioning individual. So it is because of the growing recognition of the importance of creative functioning, and there is a sufficient evidence of the universality of creativity. So now, before that, so from Scott, he said, or according to Scott, he cited that creativity-related skills can be improved by or through providing specific rules, techniques, and strategies that will improve these skills to develop appropriate cognitive skills for the domain at hand. So this could be realized through creative ideation trainings, or what we call divergent thinking exercises, which aim at stimulating effective search, retrieval, and association and integration or combination of remote associations related to given stimulus word. So divergent thinking. So what is divergent thinking? It's a useful concept for identifying, supporting, measuring creativity as a process to actualize oneself, manipulate internal and external symbols as creation of illustrative ideas based on his or her knowledge senses regarding people and objects to produce on. So simply, it is about thinking about outside the box, and exploring multiple possibilities. So for example, you are brainstorming about the other or the multiple uses of a paper clip. So a paper clip is a clip for papers for your documents, but with divergent thinkings, you will be able to brainstorming that this paper clip can be used also for another designs. You can make it as your hair clip, or your key, or your design, or your lock. You can put it in a bag, right? So that is an example of divergent thinking. So I hope all of you students of 21st century or 21st century learners can be or would be a creative divergent thinker until you succeed in the future. So next, there are 4 major components for divergent thinking, so which are very useful for an inspirational concept. So we have fluency, flexibility, originality, and elaboration. So fluency. Fluency refers to the total number of ideas options and solutions generated for an open-minded problem. So it measures how many different responses or ideas can one person can come up with. For example, you with your team or group in the class will make a project about eco-literacy or recording eco-literacy. So with divergent thinking, you will be able to generate 50 project ideas with different potential features. So the higher number of ideas demonstrates fluency. So next, flexibility. So flexibility is the number of conceptual categories. So it measures how varied these ideas are across different categories or perspective. Like the previous example, you have generated 50 ideas about a potential project, and its variety is the flexibility. So it can be include technological innovations, customer service improvements, or marketing strategies, or others that can help students, can help PWDs, everything. So it shows flexibility in their thinking. So next, originality. So originality is the aspect of created or invented works, and it is about statistical in frequency of responses related to the task compared with original ideas. So it highlights how novel or how rare your idea is. So for the previous example, you have generated 50 ideas with variety of these ideas. Now, among these 50 ideas, one team member will suggest or a feature or an idea that is unlike any other proposed and is considered highly original. Okay, so next, elaboration. So elaboration is the ability to expand on an idea with details and the ability to create an intricate plan. So it measures how thoroughly the ideas is developed. So after that team member suggests that feature and idea, he or she will provide a detailed plan on how it will be implemented. So what are the ways to implement it? So it is more elaborated. The steps, the materials needed, the procedures. So this will show elaboration. So next. So now we'll go down about aesthetics. So aesthetics. Excuse me. So aesthetics, also spelled as aesthetics, as a philosophical study of beauty and taste. So it is closely related to the philosophy concerned with the nature of art and the concepts of which individual works of art are interpreted and evaluated. So it is the philosophical study of beauty and taste focus on of the nature and the evaluation of art. So it explores on how people perceive beauty, or how people appreciate beauty and artistic expression. So how can you tell that you are into aesthetics? So all of us are into aesthetics without us knowing. So for example, you are inside of the Catholic Church, and you will see the beautiful ceiling, the beautiful designs, and you will analyze each particular architectural style, and you will discuss it with a friend. So discussing the use of color, composition, and techniques really helps individuals to understand what makes a work of art aesthetically pleasing. So with that, a ceiling that you have seen in the Catholic Church, aesthetics is shown or reflected. So in perspective, it is an interesting and puzzling realm of experience, the realm of beautiful, the ugly, the sublime, and the elegant, the taste, criticism, and contemplation, sensuous enjoyment, and charm. So it encompasses various aspects of artistic and sensory experiences or appreciation. So experiencing the elegant design of a history. So all of this phenomena, you are criticizing, you are analyzing, you are wondering how it is to be aesthetically pleasing. All of these phenomena, similar principles operates, and small interests are engaged. So next, the nature and scope of aesthetics. Aesthetics does not only deal with nature and value of arts, excuse me, but also with those responses to natural objects that find expression in the language of the beautiful and the ugly. So the terms beautiful and ugly are too vague in application and too subjective in meaning, because everything on earth may be perceived by beautiful by someone that is from her point of view or perspective, and while other people or different people may use the word differently, and it is nothing that is often may have a little or nothing in common, but are simply based on judgment. It may also that the term beautiful has no sense except that it has no, it is as the expression of an attitude in which in turn people may associate it with different matters. So, but moreover, in spite of emphasis of philosophers of the meaning of the terms beautiful and ugly, aesthetics becomes an insignificant issue for discussion, for the description of what appeals in nature. So Just like appreciating a poem. It can be described as ironic, moving, expressive, balanced, and also harmonious, but likewise characterizing a favorite stretch of countryside. It can be noted as peaceful, soft, atmospheric, but also different perspectives can be. It can be highly harsh, it can be evocative, rather than beautiful. So there are three approaches to aesthetics. So Britannica laid down three approaches to aesthetics as follows: the language of criticism, philosophical study, and aesthetic terms. So first, it is the study of aesthetic concepts, or the analysis of language of criticism, in which particular judgments are singled out and their logical and justification are presented. So, for example, you are analyzing why a particular visual content, for example, a painting, you are analyzing how this painting could be described as evocative or innovative, involving understanding about the language and the criticism and the logic of art, of criticism. So you are criticizing it, you are analyzing it, and that is one of the approaches of aesthetics. You are criticizing. You are a critic when you are approaching like aesthetics. So next, it is a philosophical study of a certain states of mind, responses, attitudes, and emotions that are involved in aesthetic experience. So, examining experiences or responses and emotions in aesthetic experiences. So, for example, you are discussing with your friend the emotional impact of a movie, from a piece of that is has or that it evokes so much emotions that connected to you. That's why there is it involves exploring the listener's emotional and psychological reactions. So there is aesthetic experience in dealing with visual contents, in visualized images, in paintings, in movies. You are having this aesthetic experience, and that is another approaches of aesthetics. So number 3, it is a philosophical study of the aesthetic object that reflects the views that the problems of aesthetics exist because of the world contains a special objects toward which people will react as selectively described in aesthetic terms. So there are also just aesthetic terms that this is why exploring why people find certain sculptures, for example, when they find certain sculptures aesthetically pleasing because they involves explaining or examining the qualities, and that is that qualities are the aesthetic terms, such as that can make these objects or these sculptures so pleasing, such as its form, its texture, its a symbolism. So that is another approach to aesthetic. So now we have done with our discussion of what is visual literacy, verbal creativity, and aesthetics. So for a quick recap, visual literacy refers to the interpreting and creating visual images, right? And verbal creativity, it is an important skill for the 21st century or the young learners to adapt flexibly in the modern world. So this verbal creativity helps, it includes generating new ideas that are novel, that are original, that helps or address different evolving challenges that we are facing now in 21st century. And aesthetics, it has much wider meanings, and one of its meanings is that it is a philosophical study of beauty and art, and it is reflected in nature and in other artistic experiences. Okay, so have you learned about our discussion? Okay, so let's test your skills. So to test your skills, to test your visual literacy, verbal creativity, and aesthetics. So are you ready? That's good. Let's go to your assessment. So in your assessment, you will be able to create your own logo that will reflect visual literacy, verbal creativity, and aesthetics. So be creative and use multiple ways to represent it visually. Okay, so are you okay with that? Thumbs up. Very good. So thank you for cooperating, for listening in our topic for today. So I hope that you have learned so much in our discussion, because it is very enriching, and you can realize something that can help you in the future. So to end this discussion, I would deeply congratulate everyone for keeping up with me in the end. So thank you, students, and goodbye.